What is going on, guys? Welcome back to MUFC MPB here on YouTube. Today is Wednesday the 6th of March, and of course it is me, your boy Brooks, back with some more updates surrounding the future of Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United. Now, as you can tell by the title, as you can tell by the thumbnail, and as you can tell by the tweet that is on your screen right now, reported by Mark Ogden, so quite a reliable source, Manchester United are now drawing up a contingency plan for the possible exit of Erik Ten Hag this summer. Options are being explored to gauge the credentials and availability of possible replacements. Now, in Monday's episode, I think it was Monday's episode, I went through, odds, or I guess the betting odds of who, the bookies or who the public think is going to be Manchester United's new manager. Now the top five hasn't changed in terms of personnel. However, the order is now different, I think. Roberto De Zerbi is no longer second favourite. He's fifth favourite. And someone else who you will see in the next tweet, who's creeping their way up the list. I don't want them to be on this list at all, so the fact that they're creeping up is actually quite worrying, is Gareth Southgate. Now I'm going to take you through the top seven. I'm saying the top seven because Southgate is now seventh favourite, but of course we have Graham Potter first, then it's Tuchel, Ruben Amorim, who is the Sporting Lisbon manager, Simone Inzaghi, who's the manager of Inter Milan. They are absolutely flying in Serie A right now. Of course, Roberto De Zerbi, who's the manager of Brighton currently, Zinedine Zidane, who's number 6th on the list, and Gareth Southgate, who's coming in at 14-1 and 7th favourite to take over as Manchester United manager. Now, listen, I don't want Gareth Southgate in charge of Manchester United. We've seen, England have been playing. They have been relatively successful. I know they haven't won a trophy, but they're doing much better than they were before Southgate came in. However, he does have previous managerial experience in the Premier League. Of course, he was a manager of Middlesbrough way back when, back in the noughties, and I believe he got them relegated. Listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Gareth Southgate. I'm not the biggest fan of how he picks his teams, the fact that he does have very questionable favourites, and the lack of rotation, I'd say, of players who deserve to be playing in the England squad. There were interviews when he came out. Well, he did interviews when he was appointed England manager, and one thing that always sticks out to me is him saying that players are going to play on merit. You have to, deserve to be there. You're not just going to be there because you're a favourite. And as we can tell, and as we've seen, it's not something which he's stuck to. Look, I know England got to the final. They lost in the final. They got to the semis, blah, blah, blah. My frank opinion is, look, Gareth Southgate is obviously a good manager. You're not... you wouldn't be there if you weren't a good manager. So this isn't me saying he's rubbish, but I really do believe a lot of individual talent, players like Kane, Saka, Maguire when he plays for England is very good. We have a lot of very good players. You could say this is the next golden generation, and the previous one obviously didn't win anything, but that might have been because they were under the wrong rule. They had Wenger and Eriksson, Roy Hodgson, Fabio Capello, and even Sam Allardyce for a little bit. Now, there was a little break, maybe 4 or 5 years, where there weren't many players coming through the English ranks that were, genuinely up there. But now we've got players like Harry Kane, you've got Phil Foden, you've got Bukayo Saka, you've got Bellingham, Rice, Walker, Trent, James, Stones, Pickford, Rashford. I know I'm missing someone else. You've got even Kobe Minu, who Southgate's trying to get called up to the England squad. You've got a massive crop of very talented players who just seem to be playing under the wrong manager. Now, if this is a general thought that Southgate isn't the right manager to take this crop of players forward and win something, why do we think that he'd be a good manager to take Manchester United back to the top? He's never won anything. He's come close a couple of times. However, the way we lost and the type of stuff we were doing in the match, like we're going 1-0 up in the final and just sitting back, I just don't think he's the right man to take England to the next step, let alone Manchester United. So I'm hoping it's all just talk, and I'm hoping his name is only there because he's English, because he's, supposedly friends or something, or Ineos will be looking at him for a while or whatever. I don't know, but I just hope that he doesn't actually take over Gareth Southgate, Erik Ten Hag in the summer. But as I said, he is joint seventh favourite with Julian Lopetegui at 14-1 to take over as Manchester United manager. Now, someone else who has been touted to take over and has been mentioned quite a bit today, is Brentford's manager, Thomas Frank. Now, he's currently 33-1, so he's very, very far down on the list. But I don't know. I've said this a couple of times before, and I'll say it again. I don't think you can jump from a club like Brentford, a club of their size, to a club like Manchester United. I think the jump is too big. I think there has to be a club in the middle, maybe a club like Villa if what's his name, Unai Emery was to leave, club like Tottenham if Ange was to leave. I think that would have been a good stepping stone for him to then potentially become Manchester United manager. However, I don't think I don't know. I just can't see it. He does play an exciting style of football, and you always know what you're going to get from Brentford. Sometimes they're just not good enough, and that's just because they're not good enough. But they're always there. They're always putting in a performance. More often than not, they are very, very difficult to beat. Now, that's something that Manchester United aren't right now, being difficult to beat. But that doesn't mean that we need to get Thomas Frank in to solve our problems. Mark Ogden has also reported Roberto De Zerbi, Thomas Frank and Gareth Southgate are being assessed as potential replacements for Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United if he leaves in the summer. Now, I've seen a lot of reaction to this this tweet from MPB. I've seen a lot of reactions from loads of different people within the media, and there seems to be a unanimous decision here. Roberto De Zerbi is the only manager in this little list here who you think, I'd probably want him in charge of Manchester United. Listen, it's looking more likely that Ten Hag is going to go in it. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, we might have to get used to the fact that he's not going to be here next season, which means that a lot of managers' names are going to be thrown around. Names like Southgate, hopefully, being thrown around. We're getting constant links to De Zerbi. We're getting constant reminders of the fact that Ineos have been looking at him for a while. Look, he's not a bad manager. I think he's a very good manager, and he could very well come in and do the job. As I always say, I would prefer if Erik Ten Hag was here next season. But other names on the list, not so far down. I'll give you a few names that you all know. Julian Nagelsmann, the German manager, he is a German manager. You've got Michael Carrick on the same odds as Nagelsmann. You've got Ange a bit farther down. You've got Kieran McKenna's with his Ipswich, they're flying. I can't see Carrick or McKenna coming back in a permanent role. You've even got Eddie Howe, Antonio Conte, Xabi Alonso. But these names that I'm saying now are further and further down the list. So if I were you guys, I'd get used to seeing names like Roberto De Zerbi, Thomas Frank, and unfortunately Gareth Southgate being linked to the Manchester United job. Now, if he were to come in, if Gareth Southgate was to actually become the Manchester United manager, then I think we'd all have to get a bit used to... I don't know. I feel like if you do get Gareth Southgate in, you really might be starting from the beginning of the rebuild. A manager who definitely would have to learn on the job. A manager who would definitely have to improve whilst he has the Manchester United job. Whereas if you got someone like De Zerbi, I feel like he could come in and build on what's already there. I think there's just such a difference in quality between those two alone, and me personally, I'd have to go for De Zerbi over Gareth Southgate because, as I said, I don't feel like there'd be much going back on what we've already built with De Zerbi because he has the quality there. There are players in the squad who you feel like he could build around. Players like Luke Shaw, that might not be the first name you want to hear, but players like Lisandro Martinez, Andre Onana, who's been very good recently, Kobe Mainu. I think he could get the best out of Bruno Fernandes. And I know that's cliche because every manager that comes in, they have to get the best out of this player. But with someone like De Zerbi, with someone like Bruno Fernandes, you have someone there who's obviously going to create the chances. He's a monster. He's a demon when it comes to chances created. But I feel like De Zerbi, with the system he plays, could find a place for Bruno Fernandes where that type of rashness and that type of excitement on the ball could be flourished. And when I think of the type of possession football that Brighton play, you have a lot of interchangeable players. Not in terms of Bruno's going to come off and be replaced by this guy. I mean, like, Bruno Fernandes might start in the middle, but he could drift out, he could drop, he could push up, and it all works because if De Zerbi was to come in, if he was to get the signings he wants to come in, he'd be able to build a team around a few of the players. He has someone like Rasmus Højlund up front, young. I'd say he's better than Evan Ferguson, who he has at Brighton. He's young, he's able to hold up the ball, he's able to create chances, turn on the ball, dribble past a couple guys, use his strength. He's like a jack of all trades. However, because of his age, I think if you get a top manager in, you could mold him into the ideal type of striker that you want. And he has all the room for improvement, and he has all the attributes you'd want in a young striker, and all the space and his ability to learn. He seems to have the want and the hunger to learn as well. So when we're looking at managers, when we're looking at people that we could potentially bring in, we also have to take a look at what players could benefit the most from a manager like De Zerbi. I'm looking at a few players, as I said: Martinez, Mainu, Fernandes, Rasmus Højlund, Diogo Dalot as well. It could be different for every manager, and I think those are the things we have to look at. If you bring in someone who might not be as good, who might think, I want to get rid of most of the important players, or I don't think Martinez could work for me, or do I really want to play Mainu? Am I going to give him such an important role in the squad? All of these different things come into the thoughts of play, I would imagine, when looking for a new manager. Being able to bring someone in who can keep the team the same as much as possible and elevate as much as possible. It can't just be someone who comes in and clears out, doesn't work, wasted all this money looking for the next manager. Someone who can come in, do the best that they can with what they have, and then be able to be backed in the transfer market, have their ideas backed, have their styles of play backed, and then expand on what we have with the players that we have already. But as I was reporting today, Roberto De Zerbi, Thomas Frank and Gareth Southgate are being assessed as potential replacements for Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United if he leaves in the summer. Out of those three, I'd go De Zerbi. Hopefully me personally, I don't want Gareth Southgate at Manchester United, so hopefully this is just a name flying around to spike interest or get clicks or whatever. Please, please, please. But this is the end of the episode. Remember, if you do want to keep up to date with all of the latest Manchester United news and transfer news, as well as rumours and anything to do with the club, make sure you do follow MUFC MPB over on X, as well as myself, Anil Kandola and Aaron. All of our links will be in the description down below. If you haven't already, please leave a like on the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you hit the bell so you do get notified when we upload. Of course, you can be the first ones here and be up to date with everything as soon as possible. I'll be back with you guys on Friday. Yes, it is not this Friday, in a couple of days. I'll be back with you guys on Friday at the same time. It's going to be 7 o'clock with another episode. Hope you guys have a good week. I will see you guys on Friday. Thank you very much. Goodbye.